Good evening. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Education on Monday, November 30th. And if you'd please join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. And Mr. Dilly, do you have any comments this evening?
I do not, other than I'm glad to be here and taking care of things for Dr. Gibson this evening, so she could get away for her anniversary.
All right, thank you. Deputy Superintendent of Operations, Ms. White.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
We're well, thank you.
Good. Good evening, everyone. My update this evening includes multiple departments. We'll start with child nutrition, and I would like to inform the board and our listeners that the USDA has extended the waiver, which allows us to receive free meals for all students. Previously, the waiver went to December 31st, 2020. They've extended that throughout this school year. So I'm very excited to let you know that this evening, and I think that's a wonderful thing for all of our students. So I'm happy to share it. In technology, as you know, many of us have technology goals this year for our one-to-one initiative. So I'm happy to report on those this evening. Technology, the staff has ordered and received our first hotspot order. In our one-to-one initiative plan, we have budgeted for 500 hotspots. So we have identified, after our pilot of 25 hotspots with students and families, additional students, and have completed a first order of 100 devices. And we're expected to provide them to those students by the end of this week. Technologies also started the following processes. In the budget, we have secured the first stages of providing a temperature-controlled climate for our configuration room. And we're working on creating a K2 committee so that we can explore and be ready to select a K2 device. I'm very excited about that. I'll be sitting on the committee myself. The technology department is also currently collaborating with the instructional departments, and they have held a few meetings already with a wide variety of members on a committee to find and secure a robust learning management system. Now, they want this system to be able to communicate with WEVIS for ease of use for our staff, for our students, and for our parents. At the next board meeting, I want to make you aware that we intend in the technology department to bring 3 RFPs before you that are up for a rebid this year. And those will include our internet services, our local, long distance, and our cell phones. In maintenance, the news keeps getting better and better as we go down the list, guys, because C. Allen Lane will be pulling in this week to begin construction and excavation on the game field. And his goal, weather permitting, is to have the game field ready by January 2021 and then begin construction on a practice field.
Excellent.
That is good news. We're very excited about that. So you'll see some equipment rolling into Wildwood Middle School later this week. For a bond update, I want to let you know that Brandon Caton, our coordinator of maintenance, and myself are in the process of prioritizing projects. I have initially taken projects with Brandon, and we've sat down with Randy Jones, the architect, to just prioritize some projects because he has, as you know, completed our CEFP. So in the prioritization, we want to involve more stakeholders. So we'll begin next Monday a dialogue with the JLT members And tomorrow, we'll begin a dialogue with principals asking for their input on prioritizing projects for their schools. One last thing I want to share with you. I'll see if I'm able. I cannot share the screen. So I don't know, Sean, if I'm able to do that or not. But I'll just describe what I'm talking about. I was in hopes that you could see it. If not, we'll share it a different time. We have obtained project software, and I've put the Wildwood Middle School fields in there as our first project. This project includes all of the pre-construction work. So we're able to upload documents like our DEP permits, our contracts, our site maps, so that users and guests would be able to go in with our permission and permissions we shared, be able to see those kind of documents and be able to see the progress that we're making on this project. So I have begun that process, and I'm very excited about that. That's also how, if you'll recall, and voila, I can share now. That's also how we are going to begin our bond projects. So if you will bear with me. And it says I can share, but I cannot. Okay, I apologize for that. In the interest of time, I'll give you the description and we'll share at my next update. I'll have more for you on that, but we have begun that process. So I'm excited to report out about the addition of project software to our organizational process.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And that's all you have for this evening before I
That
cut
is
you
all
off?
I have for this evening, yes ma'am.
Okay. We appreciate it. Thank you.
You're
And that-
welcome.
Game field and practice fields, the fact that that's happening this week, that's way long overdue. So,
Definitely.
Yeah.
And we agree, we're very excited.
all right. Approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the regular board meeting held November 9th?
So move, Osborne.
Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Joy. All right, any discussion on it? All in favor of approving the minutes from the regular board meeting held November 9th, 2020?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Citizens' comments. This evening we have one citizen comment, and I'll just remind you that, she's there. Ms. Block, are you with us? Bobby Block?
Okay, this is Gary.
Good evening, Gary.
Good evening.
I'm trying to figure out if,
Can you hear me now?
oh, now we can hear you. Yes, ma'am. Just a reminder that you have 3 minutes, and I'll go ahead and set a timer on my phone. Give me just one moment here. All right, whenever you're ready.
I wanted to include the good news that the Superintendent Joyce White shared with us in regards to the USDA. I think that's fantastic that they're extending services until the end of the year. That's so desperately needed. So anyway, I am in the process of including that in the testimony. And we'll begin my testimony right now. Please stop the inequity. Please, courage is required to take a positive stand for our children and demand educational equity, including sufficient nutrition and access to learning tools to stop injustice. The children are watching. and deserve to reach their fullest potential. First, I am again imploring the BoE to contact the environmental testing program, such as the Mid-Atlantic Center for Children's Children and the Environment, BeCHI. The remaining pooling water can be a receptor of the toxic materials used to produce mineral wool, including formaldehyde, lead, arsenic, manganese, and coal ash. The lack of action, plus the BoE in a position of creating a discriminatory environmental sacrifice zone. The children are watching, crying for environmental justice. I continue praying the BoE overcomes its procrastination and denial. The BoE's inaction is simply condoning, threatening corporate and bureaucratic inappropriate behavior. Our children are worthy of healthy and safe educational environment locations. Second, unfortunately, Jefferson County is falling victim to COVID-19 and needs help. For the sake of our children, ask for help, be it safe, state or federal. Being silent leaves services marginalized and the school system shortchanged. Kids throughout the country are going to bed hungry. Hungry kids can't learn. Is the BoE meeting the needs of many of the children and families in Jefferson County who require nutritional support? Please feed those in need of food. As the BoE, you cannot afford to be silent. Families are unable to buy nutritional meals for their children. And there are no words to describe that. And I know your staff wants to make sure they're fed.
Thank you very much, Ms. Block.
The third point cannot be overlooked, and that's the technology. The
Ma'am?
technology is being overlooked.
Ma'am, Ms. Block, we've hit the 3-minute limit, so I apologize, but we have to move on at this point. But thank you.
The BoE in Jefferson County is not meeting the technological needs of the children. A 1 to 3,000 child staff ratio, which was stated at your board last time, is totally unacceptable.
Ms. Block, I'm sorry, but we need to, your 3 minutes are
I'm sorry
up.
that the board is not addressing the issues of the children.
Can you? All right, thank you.
And I could say, thank you, Kathy, but at this point, we need to be expanding the issues that the board is dealing with. Parents are not able to find the hot spots. The children are not able to maximize the services in terms of, we don't have much choice.
Ms. Block, Ms.
Virtual
Block,
education.
your 3 minutes are way up, so I'm sorry, but we're gonna just have to ask you to stop at this point, and you're more than welcome to come speak at another meeting.
I will keep coming
Okay,
until you keep addressing the issues that the children and the families are struggling with.
thank you, ma'am. Okay, moving on to number 6, the consent agenda. Ms. Loring, are there any adjustments to the consent agenda?
No, there are no changes to tonight's agenda.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as is?
So move, Osborne.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. Is there a second? Thank
So
you, Ms.
moved.
Joy.
Second.
Oh, Ms. Joy beat you to it, Gary. All right, any discussion or question about the consent agenda? All right, all in favor of approving the consent agenda as is?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, unfinished business. Action to approve the updates on policy 4165, policy 4217, and policy 3217. Ms. Lauren, do you have anything on that for us?
The policies that are presented this evening were put out for public comment. We didn't receive any comments. As we stated in the earlier presentation, these were policies that were already in existence that just had some legislative updates to them. And so we asked for the board's approval to adopt these changes.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the updates on policy 4165, policy 4217, and policy 3217?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Cable. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ms. Joy, I'm sorry, I didn't catch which one. And I think she might be frozen on the screen. Okay. New business, discussion and possible action regarding December 28th regular board meeting. Any thoughts on the 28th board meeting?
I move we abandon that for this year. That's right in the middle of the holidays, so I think usually we do not have that meeting.
Right. I mean, I'm willing to come up here and meet, but I don't think we need to, I don't think there's gonna be anything pressing at that point in time. At least according to the, bond committee, we think we can get away with just the December 14th meeting. So why don't we go ahead and,
Yeah.
can we have a motion to just cancel the December 28th meeting?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Cable. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. Any discussion? All in favor of canceling the December 28th regular meeting?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. All right. Now moving to 10B, action on approval to adopt the bond resolution. Consideration of and possible action on a resolution and order authorizing and directing the issuance of the Board of Education of the County of Jefferson's Public Schools Bonds Series 2021 in the principal amount not to exceed $43,735,000. And we have a few guests with us this evening. We have Mr. Nassif, Mr. Piercy, and Mr. Hunter. And if any of you would like to jump in real quick and just a brief explanation of what it is that we're doing this evening.
I move we approve.
I think, but Ms.
Hang on one second, I think somebody might be muted.
Yeah.
Madam President, this is Roger Hunter from Bowles Rice. We are
Yes, sir.
serving as bond counsel. With me is Tom Piercy, my colleague. We've worked with your superintendent, with you and the staff there to develop this resolution, which represents the next major step along the way toward issuing bonds in the spring, with the target issuance date for selling those bonds in April. We'll have to come back to you under West Virginia Code 2 more times, a supplemental resolution, and then when the bonds are awarded competitively through a competitive bid process. But tonight's action builds on the overwhelming approval of the voters of your county, and congratulations to you on that. It is not easy. Let me tell you, having practiced 41 years in many general obligation bond elections, not all of them passed, and so commend you for your successful bond call. And This resolution complies with the requirements of West Virginia Code, Chapter 13, Article 2C. And I'm going to ask Tom Piercy, my colleague who's worked with me on this, to just touch on the high points of what this resolution does, the parameters that it sets in order to comply with the code for this next important step. Tommy?
Yeah, thanks, Roger. President Skinner, members of the board, thank you. As Roger indicated, my name is Tom Piercy, and I'm a partner with Roger at the law firm of Bowles Rice. As you may remember, at the July 27th meeting, this board passed and adopted the bond election order, which called for the bond election at the general election on November 3rd. And as Roger stated, fortunately, voters of Jefferson County approved the general obligation bonds, and that really brings us to tonight's resolution. This is really the beginning of what we call the post-election phase. And I'll just take a few minutes and be brief to describe exactly what it is that is provided in this resolution. You'll see in section 1, the bonds are designated as the Board of Education of the County of Jefferson Public School Bonds Series 2021. And it provides an aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $43,735,000. So that's the maximum principal amount that these bonds can be issued, not a dollar more. Section 2 also provides a parameter relating to the interest rate. You'll see that the not to exceed number there is 5% per annum or per year, payable semi-annually. And later in section 2, you'll find the principal amounts for each year that have been determined by your municipal advisor, Joe Nassif, at Piper Sandler for each year through 2036. This resolution also names the West Virginia Municipal Bond Commission as paying agent. We'll be working with them in the coming months. Our firm, Bowles Rice, as bond counsel, and Piper Sandler as municipal advisor. You'll also see in section 16, the secretary of the board, which is also the superintendent, is directed to transmit to the attorney general certified copies of all orders, resolutions, notices, and advertisements in connection with or pertaining to this bond issue. So this is a process that we as bond counsel will assist with and start right away, working with the attorney general to obtain the review and necessary authorizations to move this process forward. And finally, this resolution authorizes bond counsel and municipal advisor and staff to begin preparing bond documents, including a preliminary official statement, which is the key disclosure document related to the bond. So again, in the coming months, we'll be working with the board and staff to get that prepared. So before I stop to take questions, I'd just like to reiterate exactly what Roger stated, that this is really the beginning of the post-election process. The bonds are not being issued tonight. As the preliminary schedule provided by Joe indicates, the board will be required to take further action at another meeting prior to the bonds being issued. So this really provides the baseline authorizations required by law to move forward. So on behalf of Bowles Rice, we really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you virtually tonight and serve as bond counsel here. And with that, I'll open up the floor to any questions or comments related to the bonds or this resolution.
Well, before we do that, I just want to thank the three of you for also being open to, if we individually had any questions, that we had the opportunity to speak with you. I'm not sure if anybody did take advantage of that, but that was, very generous of your time. Does anybody have any questions on the actual resolution that was posted with the agenda? All right, hearing no questions, is there a motion to adopt the bond resolution?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cable. Any final discussion? All right, all in favor of adopting the bond resolution?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? All right. Thank you very much. And Mr. Nassif, while we have you here, would you mind just giving us a brief synopsis of what to expect, what the next steps are in the process?
Yes, I'm Joe Nassif with Piper Sandler. I'm your municipal advisor. Working closely with the board, with school staff, with bond counsel, to, as Tom Piercy said, to kind of walk you through this process now of preparing a preliminary official statement for investors, actually arranging for the competitive sale of the bond per state statute, and ultimately the closing of the bonds. So with the adoption tonight, the next step in your in this process is bond counsel will be assembling a package of information for the Attorney General, West Virginia Attorney General, and we'll be awaiting on Attorney General process, a review, and ultimately approval. There would be, after Attorney General approval, there will be a couple of publications that will be Class 2 legal ads, and assuming that there is no appeals that have been filed by the public, we'll receive a notice from the clerk of the Supreme Court of Appeals regarding no appeals. So the first step in this process is really legal. It's per the statute. We will take the entire month of January to try to complete that process. As that's happening, we'll be preparing a preliminary offering document and essentially prepare the board for their bond sale. So in the month of February, we'll be preparing the document in January, February. We'll be working with Standard & Poor's Rating Group to get a investment grade rating on the bonds. And we'll be getting ready to post and print the offering document for investors. In the month of March, we will begin the underwriting period where the bonds will be offered once again to the public. There'll be a competitive sale date currently scheduled for the second week of March, and there'll be a closing date currently scheduled at the end of March. On the closing date, the total amount of bond proceeds will be wired and available to the board to start their project. So we are hoping to have those monies available for you all to start your projects or reimburse your projects by April 1 of this year. These are all detailed in the schedule before you. We'll be back to do a supplemental bond resolution where we'll go into more detail about what the offering document looks like and ultimately what you should expect from the competitive sale. But does anybody have any questions in the meantime? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, and we appreciate you guys being here with us this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And I don't believe we have an executive session this evening, do we, Mr. Dilly?
No, we do not.
All right, then 7:27, meeting adjourned.
Look who just joined us.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.